This is the start of a series of tutorial videos showing you how to make the garden trowel in Fusion 360. The first part we're going to make in this video is going to be the stem made out of 8mm steel bar. Before we start though, we need to set up our folders. We need a new project and we're going to give this project a name, so Garden Trowel. And once that saves, we're going to go into there and this is where we're going to do our work. So I'm going to create a new part, file, new design, and before I go anywhere, I'm going to save it. We do need to get into the habit of saving our work straight away before we do anything. So I'm going to start by calling this a stem and press save. And you can see that's now appeared in the Garden Trowel folder. I don't need this open, so I'm going to close that and have more of my screen visible. So before we get started, I'll show you the part we were working from, and that is this stem here, and it's made up of a single bar 8mm diameter that is threaded at one end with a dyed thread, heated and bent, two bends here, and then flattened using forging along with two holes being drilled in it. So this is where we need to go. We're going to start off with the stem and then we're going to add the other components in. So we're going to start off by drawing a sketch. We're on solid and we're going to look at the front. Now to start off, we are going to use a lot of construction lines. So you can select construction lines here, or the keyboard shortcut is X. And we're going to use the line tool, and I'm going to lock my first point to my center coordinate system, and I'm going to go along 70mm, and then I'm going to select the line again. I can use the keyboard shortcut L for line and it selects it here for me, and I'm going to start from here and I'm going to go up 40. I'll then put another line in going across, and it notices 70mm from below and lets me click straight to there, and then I can join that up for the square. I'm going to hover in the middle here, and if I hover there you can see I get the triangle along with my X, and that indicates to me that that is the midpoint of that line. So I'm going to click and I'm going to go across to there, and we're going to need that for one of our points. And then I'm going to add a line in here and I'm going to dimension that, and that dimension should be I'm going to use this line first. The first line you select when you're dimensioning normally is the line that stays still. There's a slight bit of fluidity with Fusion's behavior, but generally speaking, when I select a line first, that's the one that doesn't move, and I want to keep this central point here on that central grid system. So that should be 30mm as it is. Press enter and that's now fixed. I'm now going to deselect construction and go to my fit point spline, or the spline tool, and I'm going to start by selecting here, my intersection here, and my exit here. And press the green tick, or you can press enter to finish. And if I zoom in a little bit, I'm going to click and drag that point there so that it is at the 10mm point there and it's level. And even though you can see the extension of the green arc going all the way around, when I let go and deselect, so if I select something else for example, you can see that the line is gone and it stops there. I'm going to do the same thing down here, and what this is going to do is it's going to force my line to come down and stop there, and the end of the line is going to be nice and parallel, and you'll see why that's going to be important in a few seconds time. So that's this part done, and we're going to finish that sketch, and if I press the home button we'll see it at a nice angle. I'm now going to press create sketch, and because I've started and I've kept everything on that central coordinate system there, I can select that plane there. Now to make sure I'm selecting the right plane, I hold shift and push down the middle mouse button and I can rotate my screen round, and that there is where I want to select. and I'm looking at the side of what I've drawn before. I use my circle tool. I can press the circle tool, or I can press the letter C for the shortcut. And on that start point there, I want 8mm diameter. Press enter. I've got 8mm diameter circle, and I can finish that sketch. And now I've got a circle on the end of a curved spline. And here's where we're going to use our sweep tool, and it asks us to set the profile. Well, that's the circle, and then it asks us to select a path. And what this is going to do is going to force our circle to extrude itself along this path here. And there we go. Press OK, and we have one extruded part there. So we're going to do the easy bit first, and that's going to be the long end of the stem with the threaded end. So I'm just going to click on that circle there, that profile. I'm going to press extrude. You can just press the letter E, and I'm going to do a distance of 130, and it extrudes to the very end. Done. I'm now going to go to create and thread, and I'm going to select the outside surface here, and it's going to try and thread the whole section, and it's automatically picked up. It's an 8mm diameter bar, so we'll do an M8 by 1.25. I'm going to press modeled, so we can physically see all the individual parts of it, not just a representation. But I'm going to deselect full length, and I'm going to have my length at 30. So I'm changing that length there to 30 here, and you can see it there. You can click and drag the arrow, but I prefer to put the numbers in myself. Press OK, and I have that. Now normally when we're manufacturing, we would put a slight chamfer on that edge before adding the thread, just to ensure that our die goes on easily and square. If we do it beforehand on modeling software, often that can cause complications. So I'm going to add that in now. I'm going to pan, by the way, as I'm doing now. I press the middle mouse button down and I move the mouse. So I hold shift and middle mouse button and you can rotate. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Now to add a chamfer, which is here, I need to select the edge, and need to be very careful with the edge I'm selecting, and make sure I select all of it. And I select all of it before I apply a measurement, so that way it applies a measurement to everything that's already been selected. And just a 1mm chamfer, and it looks quite peculiar, but that's a more realistic representation of what would actually be made. We do need to try and keep this as realistic and lifelike as possible. And that's that end done. We're now going to get down to this end, and this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So on that surface there, I'm going to right click and I'm going to press create sketch. And what I need to do is draw a rectangle. I'm going to draw an oversized rectangle, that's fine. And I'm going to press the letter D for dimension. And I want this bit here to be, I'm going to say 6mm. And this length here to be 10. And the easy bit is having this measurement to there to be 5. And this measurement to there, I want that to be 4. So the bottom of this rectangle that I'm going to extrude is in line with the bottom of the circle. Now we're going to extrude this out to form the end that you saw earlier. I'm going to put a slight angle on my view here, just so you can see what's going on. And I'm going to press extrude. Now it wants me to select the profiles. I'll select this profile and this profile. And I want it to go a distance of 30, but I want to offset it. That means I don't want it to start on the profile plane that's been selected for the drawing. So where it says start over here, I'm going to change that to offset, and I'm going to put an offset in of 10mm and press OK. I'm now going to right click on this side of this extruded body here, and I'm going to create a sketch on here. And I am going to go with the line tool, and from the top of this point here down to, I'm going to go just above halfway, And then with my dimension tool, bottom corner point to that point there, I want this to be 4. There we go. And I can exit that sketch or finish that sketch. I can select that profile I've just drawn, press E for extrude, and I can drag that into the negative. And this instantly starts highlighting red and becomes a cut option. Press OK, and I've removed that part. I now need to join this section here to this section here. But I want it done in a slightly more fluid manner that's not forced. And there's a really simple and easy tool for this called lofting. So if I go to create and go to my loft tool, ask me to select my first surface and then my second surface. And you can see there's instantly created a loft in between the two of them. It looks slightly more natural and a bit more akin and realistic to what we're going to be producing. I can press OK and that is done. The next bit we can do is put 2 holes in the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to press the bottom box on the coordinate representation, and that way I can look square and straight at it. And we're going to use the hole tool for this. So select the hole tool and then select the surface. And what we need to do is we need to add our references. So select reference number 1, click on that surface, and as that's 10 millimeters wide, we want that to be 5. I'm always tempted to press enter at this stage. Avoid pressing enter because you'll exit the function. And here I want this one to be 10. Now I'm going to press enter here to show you what happens if you do press enter, and that is it will exit the function. And if we hadn't set this up correctly and mine was already set up to the right measurements because of the design I've done earlier, this would be wrong. To get back in though, to edit this, you can go down here to your history, right click and press edit feature. And this works for all of the features that we've done so far. And here you want to make sure that this distance is all and this bottom distance is 4, and mine's already set to 4. And press OK. And that's going to put the hole all the way through, not a set depth. And it's also going to avoid any tapers towards the bottom. We need to do another one. So I'll just click just to the right of it on that surface. And references. Top reference 5. And to this circle or to the end reference, your choice. I'm going to do to the end and I'm going to make that 20. And I'm not going to press enter because it will exit it for me. Distance all and diameter 4. You could set up your distance and diameter first and then do your references if that's easier for you. That's fine, and then you can press enter and everything's going to finish and be fine. And that is the actual part done. It is quite quick. Before you finish though, let's press the letter A for appearance, and we are going to look at some appearances. So if I was to, as you would find it, this is your list here. I'm going to go into the metal folder and I'm going to scroll down to steel, and we're going to use rough steel and just click and drag that onto the body in there, and you'll see that the appearance has changed and it's got a slightly pitted, slightly rougher look to it, and it's just a bit more realistic to how ours is going to look after we've worked it. So that is how you make it, and save your work. Control S. You get a version description, so you can always put in some annotations as to what you've done during this piece of work. Is this a significant milestone? That's mainly for group projects when you're working in large organisations, but this could be handy for some notes for you. And press OK. And you can see that up here it saves, and it's gone to V2 because it's the second save. Up here I've got an asterisk, and that tells me that this has not been saved. And if we go into our data panel, you can see that there is the stem, and that's the one we're working on. It says there V2, matched up with V2. That is the first part of this project. Please make sure you follow this carefully with the right dimensions, because we're going to be using this to make some drawings later on. Okay, good luck.